everyone, welcome back to Creative That Drives Growth. My name is Lauren Schwartz and I am the founder and owner of the Loft 325. We are a creative studio that helps with your ad execution for paid performance, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Today, I'm going to be finishing the conversation of creative strategy. Again, this is something that I'm super passionate about, something that I think is not talked about a lot, and something that is, definitely up and coming from what has been kind of happening pre-iOS 14 or after iOS 14 update. Last week, I kind of talked a little bit about, what is creative strategy? Do media buyers need to understand it? How it all kind of plays within the new atmosphere of post iOS 14. And today, really, I just kind of wanted to focus on how I work with my brands that I work with on the creative strategy and executing on the ad creatives. First off, when a client comes to me and they say, okay, we want to work with you and we really want to get your services, we really need help executing on our creative and really need help executing our strategy overall. So the first thing I like to do is I really like to do the research. So obviously get their brand book, get their brand guidelines, see if there's any sort of, information that they've had in the past that I could essentially work off of. And whether that be a demographic that they've tested previously, or if there's, demographics that they're testing currently, getting into their ad account and really just diving in and doing the research on who they've talked to, who they are talking to, and who they want to talk to, basically. So with that, I go through everything: assets, creative assets, ads they've done in the past, copy they have, landing pages that they're pointing these ads to, homepage, like basically break it down from top of level all the way down to the bottom. It's super important that within any obviously paid performance and creative, you're talking, each thing that you're basically putting out into the world from your brand is communicating the same thing. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to have mixed communication, but I think there's so many times where brands are not communicating properly. They're not, utilizing all the information that they have and really kind of pushing that forward. So once I kind of do this, creative strategy audit, then I go through the creative assets and I start to work on basically taking the strategy that I've built out for them. So again, who they're talking to, what exactly are they trying to sell, kind of going back to the beginning of, or this worked, when iOS 14 hadn't updated. And really it's kind of just breaking it back down into what worked and how do we start taking what worked and iterating off of it or improving it. What I've seen in the past is that what did work in the past could potentially work again. I think it's just a matter of how you rearrange it and how you add new copy, add new elements, and really break it down for your customer to make it so simple of what exactly you're trying to sell. I think, a lot of times right now, people are still kind of overcomplicating their brands. And we've seen that kind of shift in UGC has taken off, but now it's kind of shifted back again to go back to the simple static image or the simple GIF or simple raw UGC where someone is just clearly telling you a review and sharing a product with you. It goes back and forth all the time. And I think really understanding, how to break that down so clearly to your audience is what they need. Like they need it described to them at a child level. And it seems, again, like we talk about this all the time, but it's so true. Like people need to understand what it is you're selling and not, throwing so many value props in there that you're just like, whoa, value prop overload. I still don't get what you're trying to sell me. So I think just breaking it down in the simplest form and the simplest copy is really what is beneficial to your account and your brand. So really that's kind of like how I like to look at things. I like to look at it from, again, going from everything that you've done and how can we either iterate off of what's worked or how can we basically make it better. Working through all of these areas, I essentially take that strategy and start breaking it down into chunks. So let's start going back, making some iterations on what has worked in the past and really fine-tuning those iterations so that they're clear. They're very clear on what we're trying to sell and what we're trying to do. Then I think it's also talking about brand, going back to the beginning of how your brand started, who is your brand? What is it? Why is this so beneficial? Why do I need this in my life? I think these are things that people still resonate with. Founder stories are huge. People are so interested in who is actually behind the brand that I think these things are still so relevant to ad accounts. And then taking that, after you kind of break down all those things, then going through the trends. Once you've kind of added those things back into the ad account, start seeing how things are performing, start testing. And then once you kind of start testing and seeing what's working, I think then you can start adding in, again, some of the trends. 3 reasons why. TikTok made me buy this. The TikTok question bubble, us versus them. These are great things to add in also at the beginning too, but like definitely going back to square one of what has worked in the past and how can you make it better. I think sometimes, people do get so hung up on, well, this worked in the past, it's obviously going to keep working. But again, with some slight tweaks and iterations, you can make an ad totally different just with changing the first 3 seconds, changing the copy, just remanipulating the ad a bit to make it clearer on what exactly you're trying to sell. So I do think that having some of the old creatives still can work. We have definitely, at the Loft, we've definitely taken ads that have worked in the past and tweaked some minor things, and literally they have skyrocketed to better performance just by doing small iterations. So I don't think that it's necessarily just scrapping it all and starting over. I think you can still take what's working or what has worked and just fine tune it. That's essentially kind of how I start, is I, again, go through everything, go through the ad account, go through the creative, and then really start to break down each piece of the creative strategy that we've outlined to our clients and really breaking it down into the simplest form with iterations, testing simpler call outs, simpler headlines, simpler copy, breaking it down from what is the brand selling, how is this beneficial to my life, like all these simple, clear messaging that you can really like drive home to your audience. Once we kind of do that, we start testing and then really just kind of see where creative goes, how, once it gets back into the ad account, where can we kind of go from there? And, most of the time it's great. Like this is working really well. Let's continue to make iterations off of this and continue to put that in the ad account. Or, this angle didn't work so well. Let's start testing, some new angles. Like what data did we get from the past and how can we move forward? So really like that's exactly how I kind of test things and how I go about our strategy and how I go about our design process on my team. And it's really been helpful to the clients that we've worked with. Again, like we work with a bunch of different brands and, we've been able to kind of test and optimize things that have worked in the past and kind of things that are working currently. And, just to kind of like sum it up really, like I think creative strategy, like again, this is something that is so beneficial and it's so important to have, which I, again, will continue to dive into this more and more on how I kind of make things work and function. But I feel like the trend of creative strategy is only going to move forward. I mean, people on, I've been seeing so many people hiring for creative strategists, outsourcing creative strategy. This is something that I don't think is going away. And I think it's something that every brand should have a designated person for because it is so beneficial to your company and it is so beneficial to the teams that are working with the creative strategist. They have to be able to pivot quickly, the strategy side, and they have to be able to inform the designers, inform the media buyers of like, hey, this is where I see this trend going. I think we should hop on it immediately and start, making things for this, or I think we should start testing these things. This person is just going to be one of those people on your team that is going to be so valuable. So if you'd like to work with us, we do offer creative strategy. Again, my name is Lauren Schwartz, the Loft 325, and subscribe below. And I'd love to hear any sort of comments you have, questions, please. I'm here to answer them. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.